Hello, beautifuls! Welcome to Relative Growth and today's Thursday Thrive Live. And we have a first. I love first. We have our first guest, and it's Lindsay Guichard. Did I say that correct?
Yeah.
Good. Today, we are talking about something that I'm really excited about and kind of passionate about because too often I feel like we go through life feeling like we're all alone, and we're not. And we're talking about anxiety attacks, nightmares, panic attacks, all of those. And Lindsay, you and I connected over a year ago. And the reason why I had you come on today is because you are a therapist. And you live here in California, which I think is crazy because we met on a group that was based out of London, England, in London. Yeah. And here we are, like neighbors.
Yeah.
Go and meet for coffee at some point, whenever that happens. And so tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. So right now I'm actually in the middle of creating a course for people like me about a year or two ago. So I am someone who did a huge track of the license and marriage and family therapy journey. And so that's kind of where my background is for the last, decade or so, is juggling that trail of becoming licensed and having kids and, getting married and all that stuff. But like a lot of education and then a lot of experience. And then my exam process was triple the amount of time that I actually thought it was going to take, just because of the nature of the last exam, that last hurdle to get to where you want to go. Mm-hmm. And so, so that's kind of where I've been at, is making sure that I'm all set up in private practice, but now I'm like, I really want to take a look behind. And if anybody's getting caught up in the exam like I did, I want to make sure that I'm providing something for them. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Because it can feel really alone when you're in that process. And so having a support system is so important.
That's right.
That's really cool. Well, where can people find information if they wanted to learn more about you? Where do you have a website that they can go to?
Yeah, I actually have a mental health blog, and it's on thetravelingtherapist.com. That's plural, not singular. Okay. The person who's singular is following me. But it's just one of those things. I was thinking like, oh, my website should be called thetravelingtherapist.com, and then it was taken. So I was like, I'm going to go plural and see if that's taken. It was available. So we're in connection now.
I love it. I'll put a link in the comments below, and then also stay tuned because you're a reader like I am, and so you have some books and some podcasts that you recommend on anxiety, and so we'll go over that at the end of our conversation. And so if you're a reader like us, stay tuned because she has some good ones. I like your suggestions. Okay, so the reason why we started connecting is I myself was having panic attacks and nightmares at night, and I kind of suffered through it alone. And then I noticed a friend on Facebook was going through the same thing. And as I started talking to more of my girlfriends, they started to open up about having to deal with these panic attacks that they weren't having to deal with. And it got me thinking, every one of them felt very alone in the situation. And as I started to draw the lines, I was like, oh my goodness, we are not alone in feeling this way. And for some of us, we don't know what to do next and even how to kind of move forward with, when you're having nightmares on a recurring basis, that's not something most adults deal with, or when you're getting these anxieties, sometimes it's the first time getting an anxiety attack, or for some of us, it hasn't happened in years. And have you found the same thing, when you're in your groups and in your practice?
So I would say that when we are experiencing a panic attack, not everybody experiences it the same way. And whatever our body does to move into an involuntary state, once it does that the first time, our body actually learns to go back there when we're in a state of panic. So if we think of a rubber band, as soon as it gets stretched to where it wants to go when our body's in panic, it'll go straight back there unless we figure out how to tighten back the rubber band to make it not go back there. But see, even the anxiety of thinking that we're going to go there causes that rubber band to loosen. So a big thing when we're experiencing anxiety attacks is about controlling our breathing and visualizing something concrete, like a clock. So if we visualize a clock when we're experiencing our breath being out of control or involuntary, we're wanting to bring it back and rein it in and look at the clock. And so what we're going to tell ourselves is to breathe in for 4, to hold it for 4 seconds, and to release the breath for 4 seconds. And we're going to do that for an entire rotation of that second hand, because even if our breath is still not in control, we're going to tell it, we're basically exercising it to get back into control. So with that, that's what's going to happen in order to us to bring our breathing back into control. And then with nightmares, really, there's a couple of different camps about dreams in particular. So there's a lot of people who are like, take stock in your dreams are everything, like, mounted on your wall, whatever.
And I read my dreams and like I look it up what they mean, but right now all they're saying is you feel like you're out of control. I'm like, no kidding. I know I'm out of control. Life is out of control. Not helping me.
Yeah. So I guess I'm in the camp of, I don't really think that my dreams are all that important. I might think like, okay, like it's my body's way of working through something in my unconscious that really bugged me, and I didn't realize how much it bugged me or how much it stressed me out, and this is how it showed up to give me a hint of that thing really bugged me. So the big thing is like,
on with life
one of the, so I would say with dreams that are really shaking, like earth wavering shaking, what we want to do is we want to get it out of ourselves and out of our minds as quick as possible. So whether that's talking about it so that it just gets out, because that's really what it is like it just needs to come out. So whether we talk about it with a friend or with our spouse or with someone who's been there before, that's helpful too. But and also even just journaling. Like I'm not in the camp of rereading my journals to ruminate on the stress. It's more about getting it out of me so that I never have to think about it again. And when it does come up, I actually go back to my journal and write it out. So even if I've already written it, to get it out of my head, because there's an interesting dynamic when we're actually writing something with our hands. And a lot of us are typing now, and it's like, no, like with this. This kind of thing, we're going to write it with our hands, and we can put it in a box. We can burn it.
I love the burning.
I love the burning. That's amazing.
Therapeutic.
Yeah, absolutely. Those things that we don't want to hold on to. We can write them out, and we can throw them out or burn them or destroy them in whatever way that makes the most sense for us.
And journaling is something that I'm not a writer, believe it or not, because I have the blog, but I'm not I never identified as a writer. And I have found that journaling is extremely therapeutic in terms of having a safe space that is judgmental, that's non-judgmental, to where I can express how I feel completely openly.
Yeah.
And that has actually been one of the, I don't want to say the most important thing, but it has definitely become something that's right up there in my arsenal in trying to work through some of this anxiety.
Yeah. It's, you know, and sometimes when we can't quite put our thoughts into words, sometimes it's helpful just to pretend like you are writing a letter to a friend,
Mm-hmm.
And then never send it.
Yeah.
So that's helpful. Like if a family member, you know, has died, and we want to write to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's very helpful because we wish they were with us, and they were helping us because they used to always do that. And maybe that's where the stuckness is happening, is that's where we used to process our feelings, and then they're gone. So if we kind of channel that into a letter writing situation, then it opens up the feeling of they're actually very close.
What a beautiful way of holding someone close to you and still nurturing and loving that relationship. I think that's absolutely beautiful. I really do. I like that suggestion. You know, one thing I actually thought was really important, that we had talked about prior to our conversations, was the difference between anxiety and panic attacks. I'm definitely from the non-educated version of psychology, so I use them interchangeably. And you're like, no, there's a difference.
Yeah, not everybody who experiences anxiety has ever had a panic attack, which is very interesting, because you would think they're linked, but no. So a panic attack is when we are experiencing something that is supposed to be something that we're choosing, like the act of breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden that choice gets ripped away, and it's almost like we're feeling like we're drowning.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't catch our breath, and our breath, even though we're breathing heavy, or I wouldn't say heavy, because what happens in a panic attack is that it's shallow, fast breathing. So we're trying to gasp for air, and even when in our gasping, we're not able to actually get the air in.
And that's where the brown paper bag that you see in movies, is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a visual reminder of how much we are breathing, even though our brains are telling us that we're not getting any air. But yeah, so the act of involuntary breathing for a time period, and then it happening over and over and over again, that is a panic attack.
Okay.
And then an anxiety attack is maybe it has a little bit different characteristics. We can still breathe, but we're still either frozen in fear, or we're sweating heavily, or we can't stop moving. We just keep moving all the time. But it's different types of things that are happening. It's our mind racing. What someone characterized it to me before is someone who's experiencing anxiety in a heavy way. It's almost like they're standing, kind of waiting at a beach, and they're in the water, and the waves are nice and gentle, and then all of a sudden this huge wave of anxiety sweeps over and knocks us off of our feet. And not everybody experiences that either.
That was something where I was like, really?
Right. And it's just like, what do you mean? I mean, maybe levels of anxiety, but someone who's maybe has an anxiety disorder, it's crippling. Yeah. It's not something that we can ignore.
It's hard. And because I realized, I think it was actually a realization when I was talking with you, where I was like, really, people this isn't normal. I think it was the first realization where I was like, oh my goodness, I've been dealing with anxiety since I was so little. I didn't realize I was dealing with anxiety because it's just such a normal part of my life. And I've actually sat and chewed on that for the last week I think it's been a week since we talked. And I also realized that my anxiety is a gift too, because it allowed me to dig deeper into the fear or the wound that was holding me back in certain situations, and allowed me to, I like the analogy. I don't like the peeling back layers because I'm not an onion, but it's allowed me to bloom into this beautiful flower, one petal at a time. And so to also look at my anxiety, learn how to breathe, but to look at my anxiety as a tool to help direct me and aid me, so that it's not just this negative thing that's sitting around me. And that came from our conversation.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of therapists want to do is when someone's standing there and a huge wave of anxiety is coming and they just got knocked over, and then they get back up and they're afraid that another big wave is coming. And of course, and like if someone's experiencing that in a pretty consistent way, of course it's coming. So now we have to figure out, if we do the same thing, we're going to get smacked again. So we need to figure out how to dive under, how to notice that it's coming and dive under the wave before it smacks us over. And what is that thing that we hold on to? What is the surfboard? I don't know, like the boogie board or whatever. Like, what is the thing that's going to get us under? And that could be different techniques, different tools, journaling. Yeah, it could be exercise. It could be a lot of different things. And different things work for different people. I noticed a while ago that I find calm and peace in being underwater. I don't know why. Do I own a pool? No. Would I like to someday? Absolutely. But so I don't own a pool. Okay. So what do I do if I don't own a pool and I know that I find calm and peace underwater? So if something is happening where I'm experiencing that big wave, I want to get to water. I want to get to underwater.
Interesting.
I have to figure out how to get to that peaceful place in my surroundings. So I'll tell you what I do. And this is something that I learned. In, one of my one of my placements for being a therapist is someone else did this. And I was like, that is so cool. But what I do is when I'm feeling anxious and I have the ability, when we're in the shower, take just a second. Obviously, we don't want to waste a lot of water, but just take a couple of seconds.
Welcome to California.
Yeah, seriously. We just want to take a couple of seconds and we want to close our ears. And we want to experience what that sensation is.
Oh, I love that.
With the water coming down. It is so peaceful. It's so loud in terms of like a different sensation that we don't usually hear. It just takes, it distracts.
Yeah.
Distracts our brain from thinking about that anxious thing, because we're just honing in on how it feels, how it sounds. And it's just all of a sudden a peaceful wave. A peaceful wave.
Well, I love that. So it comes down to where we, when we find ourselves in anxiety, because I mean, let's face it, 2020 has just been nothing but anxiety and stress, and we are adapting and changing and we're overcoming, but we're still finding that new things are coming up in our future. We have a whole new slew of things that we weren't expecting. We have the holidays, and how do we do holidays safely with family and friends, and do we do them safely, and just coming up with the tools. And you've given us some good ones. You talked about the box breathing, which was a breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4. But the box breathing, so bringing in some sort of breathing technique or meditation, journaling, talking with a friend. I love though, you found that water is where you find peace and solitude. And so if you can't get to like a bathtub or a pool, the trick about in the shower, I think I never heard about that before. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah, mine was actually, I found mine was getting out into nature, and I'm blessed that I live near a national park. So when I'm having a panic attack, it's not, or an I guess it would be an anxiety attack. It's not uncommon for me to drop what I'm doing, put on my running shoes, and go hit a hiking trail.
Yep.
And that seems to really do. And it's not just getting outside; it's getting outside into nature.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing because you also touched on the point that we're all uniquely and beautifully different. And so finding what works for the own individual person,
Yeah.
and knowing that you're uniquely and beautifully different, and that there are the natural tools out there that can help you. And just playing around with, like, okay, I tried this one, that didn't work. Okay, next. Like, in cold calls, we always say, every no brings you closer to a yes. So you're like, yes, I got a no. I'm going to make a sale soon. So I guess when you look at it this way, it could be like, every no on something that doesn't work brings us closer to the one thing that will.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I liked that you talked about going out in nature. For me, it's another thing is nightly walks. And I was noticing that I was having, at some point in my life, I was having a really big problem with negative self-talk. The tape that or the voice that we hear all the time. If we're finding that it's never to almost always not positive, how do you escape your own inner voice, right? For me, it was going on nightly walks, and I invested in something that has changed my life. I don't know. I don't know about everybody else, but noise canceling headphones has rearranged my thought life. At times I would listen to music, and then I found audiobooks, and I am now a personal develop enthusiast. And so I just go from one book to the next, and I'm finding that the more I do that, it's not every day, but on the most part, it's becoming my default in the evening. And now my brain doesn't like the negative self-talk.
Isn't that interesting?
It likes the authors. So now my brain is switching focus, and my inner voice is now, the voice of all of these different, and you name them, like all of these different authors. That's your favorite. Think of your favorite author. If you visit with them for 30 minutes an evening, they start to become your new self-talk. Like, oh, what would that author say in this situation?
And that
probably not what I've been saying for years.
I love it. And what's not. I love this, that and I will link it. So down below in our comments, I'm going to link some of your favorite YouTube channels on this specific topic. But we were talking about books in our last conversation. And I think we promised our viewers that we were going to share with them your favorite books, because they've heard mine. They know my authors. So and it doesn't have to be on this specific topic. It could be on self-growth as a whole. What would be if you had 1 to 3 books that you would have to recommend to someone, what would they be?
So I think a big shift for me in terms of business decisions was probably She Means Business by Carrie Green.
Yep, our dear friend that connected us.
Yes. So second, I am a big fan of the 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. And then third, I would have to go with my current favorite, which is, Tony Robbins is a big name, but he talks about this guy named Jim Rohn, and he used to go to Jim Rohn's events. And so I actually just recently purchased The Ultimate Guide of Jim Rohn.
Jim Rohn. How do you spell? You know what? I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't know it.
No. It's Rohn.
Okay. I believe it or not, I have never read or listened to Tony Robbins. I need to. But and I've never heard. I'm gonna look into that Jim Rohn as well. And I really need to get off my butt and listen to Tony Robbins, because I don't know why I haven't. I have no good reason.
I've heard one of, so I saw the Netflix special, I'm Not Your Guru by Tony Robbins a long time ago. And then I listened to a little bit of Unleash the Power Within, the actual book. And then when I heard him reference to Jim Rohn, it was always, that name just kind of floated around and I didn't really know. And then I just had a credit one day and I was like, ooh, this looks good. It's the ultimate, talks or something, or like the ultimate playbook of Jim Rohn. And I'm like, and sold. All right. And it's been really good.
I am going to check those out. I'm a huge believer that we can learn so much from YouTube videos, podcasts, books, and books are such a topic that people don't look for or think they have time. And nowadays it's easier than ever. I mean, Audible puts reading at your fingertips. You can do it while you're walking, while you're driving, while you're cleaning the house, I've done it while my kids are bathing and I'll just sit on the bathtub as they play around listening to my book. Same thing, with e-readers and Kindles and library, like our library is doing Libby, which is all virtual. So you don't even have to go into a library and everything can be delivered to your phone. And so I think it's really important, if this topic was something that you were interested in and wanted to learn more about, there are books on it. There's YouTube videos on it that I'll share in the comments. And so much it's there for you to take back control of your life. It really is. Lindsay, I have loved talking with you today. This was so much fun. You have been amazing. So can I tell everyone how amazing you've been? Because we were supposed to be here last week and we had technical difficulties, totally raising my hand on that one. And you've been nothing but like patient and kind and supportive the whole entire way. And I feel really, really lucky to have connected with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been one of those things where each new level is just brings, learning and just brings patience. So I always try to just go with the flow.
Well, I'm glad you did, because this was so much fun. And this was, I think, really valuable for everyone to hear. So if you like this video, remember, this is sharing is caring in this sense. So share it with your friends, share it with your Facebook page, give us a like, because that helps other people be able to see our videos. And thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.